Hey everybody, Vanity V here. How you guys doing on this beautiful Tuesday? I hope you guys are having a great day. So, if you guys are a lover of Real Housewives of Atlanta and you follow Carlos King, hey Carlos, you have absolutely seen the interview today that dropped with him interviewing Kenya Moore. So let's get into the interview, you guys. I first want to say this, as I always like to give kudos when kudos are due. Carlos is great at interviewing, y'all. Again, I give him a hard time, but an interviewer he is. He's excellent with his interviews. He asks all the questions we want to hear. And he's really good at getting people to open up. And so I definitely admire that about him. And the cherry on the top with this one is, it appears that he and Kenya are really good friends. So this interview was great. I was excited about it ever since he kind of posted the preview for it. And I have to say, I am a huge Kenya Moore fan. So I'm going to try not to be biased in this interview. But my main focus, this review of the interview, but my focus that I wanted to talk to you guys about is my takeaway from the interview, which was that Kenya Moore is so misunderstood, y'all. I did not take notes, so we just gonna freestyle this thing. We gonna get into a freestyle with it because I love the interview. I love the interview he did with Nene, but I like this one even more. And the reason behind that is because there was parts of this interview where I actually almost started crying. As we know, Kenya Moore came onto the scene of Real Housewives of Atlanta in season 5, and she came on in the same season with Portia. She took the series by storm. We're like, who is this beautiful chocolate woman who was, previous Miss USA? And I love Martin. I like Waiting to Excel. We had seen her on the big screen on those movies and shows, in addition to her being Miss USA. So I was already really, really interested to see Kenya, to see, okay, what is she about? What's she going to bring to the franchise and all of that? And, as the seasons have gone on, we all know, I'm not going to recap every season, but we know that Kenya is and has traditionally and historically been viewed as the villain, which I personally, think is a bit of an unfair label to put on her. And it's funny because over the years I've had so many conversations with my friends about Kenya, about because I think that if you have a room full of 10 people, 6 or 7 of them are going to probably dislike Kenya, and maybe the other 3 or 4 feel away. But I've always been a person that has really, I'm a sucker for someone with a story. I'm a sucker for someone who has been through adversity in life, especially as it pertains to parents, because I lost my mother when I was 14. And although she did not lose her mother, as in a death or in a way like that, but her mother was never in her life. She was always adversarial to Kenya. And sometimes that's even harder, you know what I mean? Like, to lose a parent, the circumstances behind that. But when you have a parent that's alive and that doesn't want to have anything to do with you and, feels away. And we learned so much more in this interview about the part that Kenya's mom played in her life. That is even harder because it's like, dang, why is the person who's supposed to be the most important person in my life, why are they not wanting to be a part of my life? They're supposed to protect me and love me and provide, and they're not doing that. So I've always felt like, okay, Kenya really, she's been through a lot, and this is why she's so testy with people, and this is why she's really quick to react. But what I will say about Kenya, and she even reiterated this in this interview with Carlos several times, she doesn't get at you unless you provoke her. And if y'all really sit and think about it, that is how Kenya is. She has always been. She's like a don't start none, won't be none. But if you start it, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to finish you. It's going to be like a Mortal Kombat finish him. And, that's why they call Kenya the Shade Assassin. And so that's what I loved. Like, a large portion of this interview that he did with her was her talking about her life, and what led up to her even coming to the point where she wanted to audition for the Housewives of Atlanta. So, he kind of talked about her life with her mom. And I did not know that Kenya's mom was somewhat in her life. I didn't know that. I thought that she just kind of like abandoned her. She never saw her. But the fact that, Kenya's mom, it appears she had relationships with like her aunt and her grandma. And for whatever reason, she had her at a young age, but did not want anything to do with her. And it's funny because when Kenya was telling the story to Carlos, before Kenya even said it, I immediately was like, this sounds like mental, like her mom has possibly a mental disorder. She's suffering from mental illness, because Kenya said in the interview, Carlos asked her a question and she said, my mom would deny even having me. Like her mom, which is crazy, but her mom would be like, yeah, I didn't have her. And it's like, what? Like only someone who's mentally ill would have a baby and deny it. Unless one, they're just full of shit and they know they had the baby and they're just, for shits and giggles saying whatever. Or two, they, generally have a mental illness. And from what Kenya said, it sounds as though it's the latter, that her mom had some serious mental illnesses, because, Kenya also made mention to the fact of like, she would, prior to Miss USA, she was in several pageants before that. And she said that her mom would like call and blatantly hate on her to the pageant officials and say, well, my daughter's a drunk and my daughter's this, and she's sleeping with an older gentleman, which we'll get into that. But she would like call and sabotage and attempt to sabotage her, which is crazy. Because like I said, from the show, appearance of the show, you would think that her mom was never in her life. That's the way it came across to me in the show. It came across that she just wasn't there. And then I remember, I forget which season it was, but Kenya went back to Detroit, took the cameras with her, and was trying to film a scene of her trying to reconnect with her mom in some type of way. And her mom shunned her and like wouldn't even open the door. And so I thought as a viewer that prior to that, she hadn't even seen her mom, or like maybe she had seen her, when she was very young, and that there was a large gap. And I didn't know that her mom was kind of in the shadows of her life. So that was wild and interesting to find out. She also talked to Carlos, and it was cool because, both of them are from the D, they're from Detroit. And so they have that, similar thing to bond over. And they were kind of talking about like the high school that she went to. She went to Cass, which is a performing arts high school in Detroit, which is like, renowned. A lot of people who are celebrities now actually went to that high school. And so she was talking about the fact that she was at that high school, and when she was 16, she was dating someone who was 27. And so she talked about her experience with that, which is also crazy. It's like, and she labeled him a predator, which he is, because why is a 27-year-old, which she said he like followed her home. And she said, he took advantage of her. And she talked about her life prior to the Housewives. And she talked about, look, I had to be tough. That's why I'm so quick-witted and witty. And, because that's my defense mechanism. And a lot of people who go through trauma, myself included, I've kind of tamed down a little bit. Once you start realizing you have things to lose and you can't be fighting and you can't be, cussing people out, you have to make changes, which is what, she has done. But she talked about how that trauma shaped her into the person that she, the outgoing person, because she had to prove a lot of people wrong. Because when you don't have your mom in your corner, that's one of the most traumatic things that you can go through as a young child, not even just women, because it has terrible effects on young men as well. So she talked about that. She talked about, how her grandmother raised her. I believe her dad's mom raised her, and she said she had relationships with like her mother's siblings, but her mom just didn't want to have anything to do with her. And her mom's alive now, from what I understand. And it's just sad because you have a beautiful granddaughter. Kenya's so successful. So why would that not make you want to change, even as an adult? Because I don't know Kenya, but I think I know enough about her to know that even today, if her mom extended an olive branch, because I believe Kenya loves love. And I think that that's another reason why she's so misunderstood. Like, it's funny because before she had Brooklyn, I remember having because me and my friends, we always talk about the Housewives after they air. And I remember I was like, Kenya's going to be a great mom. And I remember my friends were like, no, she's not. She's terrible. I'm like, no. If y'all think about it, think about the scenes and I have one distinctive scene where, remember when Bob was in the car and it was, I think they were in Hawaii. And remember, Kenya was beefing with Sheree at this time. But I remember Bob had made those ridiculous, terrible comments about, well, I should have did this and I should have threw you out the car or whatever. And Sheree, naturally, that hurt her. She kind of broke down. The first person to embrace her was Kenya. Whenever something happens, y'all go look back at the episodes. It doesn't matter if she hates the person. If that person's going through something, she's the first person to embrace the person, comfort them. She has that really sweet maternal instinct. And I noticed that. And that's one of the things that is endearing about Kenya that I really, really admired. So I was like, dang, she's going to be a great mom. I knew it. And we see that now. Brooklyn is like the best part of the show. So I hope the producers and everybody continue to show Brooklyn, because Brooklyn, Kenya, you have a beautiful daughter. Your daughter is so beautiful, and I'll be in a bad mood if I see her on the screen. It just instantly, because she's so innocent and sweet, and she seems so genuine. So you have a very special daughter, and I pray you get to have the other baby. However, whatever the means is, I pray that you get to have another baby, because I think that that would make your house complete. But yeah, she's very, Kenya's a very sweet person. She's very caring. And even like Courtney, with the disgusting things that Courtney said about her, if Courtney had hurt herself in Portugal, Kenya would have been the first person to embrace her. So I just said all of that to say that, you know, she's just misunderstood. And this interview was an excellent portrayal and gave us kind of like the backstory. And that's what I enjoyed the most about the interview, as to why Kenya is. It gave some substance and credence to why she is the way she is. And it also, y'all think about it, Kenya doesn't start it, but she finishes it. I can't think of one instance where she just started the trouble. Now, will she give you a little fun shade if you come in there, you know, with your pants wrinkled? She might throw you a shady comment about that, like fun shade. I mean, you're on a show, so we want the comedic relief. But like the serious stuff, you know how Marlo goes below the belt. Kenya's never been the person to do that. And so I will give her credit on that. You know, she also talked about, you know, they talked about her relationship with Portia, and how, you know, when they first started the show on season 5, her and Portia came, you know, they came on the same season, and how, you know, you remember her and Portia, it was like up and down her relationship. You know, they started off really rocky, and then, you know, they kind of mended it and became friends, and then it became rocky and they became friends. I feel like it's her relationship to Portia is a little similar to how she was with Nene, because I feel like she was genuinely friends with Nene at some points. I don't know if I would say that about Portia, but it was very up and down. But she did say, like, she agreed she and Portia were the freshness that we needed for the show for season 5. I don't remember season 4, because for some reason I thought she and Portia came on season 4 like right after season 3, when Phaedra and Cynthia came on. But, you know, I guess it was season 5. But she also, he asked her about Phaedra, and, you know, she mentioned that she clearly doesn't see it for Phaedra anymore, which, I mean, I don't really keep up with that, so I figured that she didn't. But she said that the things that Phaedra said that really got to her the most is part of the reason why she doesn't see it for Phaedra still, which was, you know, when things got rocky. Remember, they had that stuff where Phaedra thought Apollo was sleeping with Kenya, which was crazy, and Phaedra felt away. She said Phaedra made mention of her being an alcoholic. In addition, she you know, teased her and made her little quips about the mental health stuff, and Kenya said that is the most sensitive part about me, because those are the issues that my mom suffers through. So, and that's how Phaedra is, y'all. Like, I feel like she's not as low down as like Marlo, but Phaedra will take things that no are gonna cut, and she'll use it against you later. That epic, remember the epic read where Phaedra was like, well, you have to get a sperm donor to you know, to get a cheese pizza, you know, to skeet on a tissue for a cheese pizza so you can have the baby, or whatever she said, which, I mean, she read Kenya for filth. But at the same time, it's like, do you really want to take, someone's fertility issues or whatever and like get at them later? So, she talked about that is part of the reason why she doesn't have a relationship with Phaedra. And she said, amongst other things. And then, because there is going to be a part 2 to this. So they're going to talk about that. They talked about Nene. Carlos asked her pretty much like, what do you think that Nene brought to the show? And she said, yeah, Nene was great for the show. She said, and he asked, who do you think has given you a run for your money as it pertains to like reading and as it pertains to like, going back and forth? And she said it was Nene. And it's true. Her and Phaedra have had classic moments too. But I think the part that was nice about her and Nene, it was nice to see the ups and downs of their relationship, because I think they both care about each other. And it's nice to see too when you see him do, or anybody do interviews with Nene. Nene has to make it in her interviews like she's the star of the show, but she does big up Kenya, and she always says Kenya's great for the show. Regardless of how I feel about her, she's an excellent addition to the show. So Kenya, kind of returned that and said, a lot of the same. Also, what was interesting, I didn't know, Kenya said that she had to like try out for the show, and she had to film not getting paid for like a month prior to the show, or a month prior to her being offered a peach, which is crazy. Because that's a long time to expect someone to film and then before you offer them a peach. Like, I could see you doing a scene or two here and there, but I'm not filming for no months and I'm not getting paid. And she said she did. And she was just like, like, how y'all gonna make me do this? I'm a former Miss USA. I'm an established actress. I'm lit out here. Y'all having me audition, but she had to audition for the show. So she said she did that for like a month, and then she was offered a peach. So that was another, interesting tidbit about the show. And then what else did they talk about? Again, I was just kind of blown away by Kenya's backstory, and I already felt like this. I feel like I'm a kindred spirit with Kenya. Not that Kenya's, now hold on, she's not an angel. I'm not going to make it like she's an angel. She's brutal and ruthless out here. Like, it's funny because whenever she gets into it with people, Candy be like, ooh, Kenya gonna get you. Like, because that's how it is. It's like, Kenya, you already know what time it is. Like, there's certain people I wouldn't come for. Kenya, Phaedra, and Candace from Potomac. That little girl, her mouth and how quickly their comebacks, like, I'm not, I think I'm funny and I have little comebacks, but it's the quickness of it. Like, Kenya, Phaedra, Candace, they be so quick with the way they read you. And specifically, like, Kenya, she has funny reads. She has reads that you like, damn, you ain't had to hit me with the uppercut like that. But Phaedra, her reads are more like 10 minutes later, like, did this bitch really, you have to kind of think it through, like, oh, she really tried to shade me. But yeah, Kenya is lethal with her reads. But yeah, again, she's not innocent, but I will say again, I don't think that she tries to comfort people first. She will finish it. She might take it a little too far, but you know what they say, you can't come for somebody and then, control the way that they respond to you. You just gonna have to take it the way you take it. So you come at me with give me 10, I'm gonna give you 25. Like, that's just, that's just the way it goes. And I think that is the way that Kenya presents herself. So again, like I said, it was really nice in the interview. Carlos, you did a great job. I am enjoying these in-person interviews, y'all. And I see that you're taking Nene's advice, because Nene told you need to be, especially the really good interviews, like, hopefully you'll interview Portia. You need to do that in person, Portia, my boo. So I definitely want to see that. So when you do interviews, specifically like with the Atlanta housewives, you definitely, old and new, you should do those in person. So Carlos, I am enjoying those. Okay. You are excellent at interviewing, and you're great in capacity of like doing reunions and interviews and stuff like that. Carlos, you be saying some stuff I don't be agreeing with, but hey, that's what commentary is. Like, that's just, I say stuff all the time and people be dragging me under my comments, so it is what it is. But I do enjoy your interviews, Carlos. And so yeah, that's really all that I wanted to talk about. They obviously talked about the housewives, but there is going to be a part 2, and I think that they are going to elaborate more on the housewives, because this part they kind of gave us a lot of backstory on Kenya's life, which I love, because I don't think that we got that from the show. So that was excellent. Oh, and before we go, he did ask her about Mark, and he asked her, so do you think that Mark is trying to, or is he trying to get your money? And she pretty much said no. She said it's not necessarily about the money, because if it was about the money, I would just pay him to get rid of him. What he's trying to control is my ability to have Brooklyn on the show. And Mark, I'm gonna need you to have several seats, Mark, because you better not take Brooklyn from us. Brooklyn is the star of Atlanta Housewives. Like, I'm loving the fact that they're showing her. She's so funny and cute. And so, yes, Kenya said that is what the battle is about. The battle is about him trying to take my right to have her on the show, which is, it's like the audacity, because he's allegedly filming a reality show now and he wants Brooklyn to be on there. Oh, she said Mark hasn't seen Brooklyn in 2 years, child. 2 years and 2 days. Really? How do you even have a say? How you even trying to have a say and you ain't seen your kid? And why you ain't seen Brooklyn? Put aside the fact that Brooklyn is like the most adorable thing ever. Why are you not? Mark, go have a seat. I'm not even doing this with Mark today. So anyway, y'all, I wanted to come to you guys and just give you my thoughts on the interview that he did with Kenya. And I just wanted to say that I enjoyed it, and I want to see more of this side of Kenya. I want to see how she's putting her, her beauty, not the beauty supply store, but I think her hair salon. I want to get more of the business, more of her backstory. I would love to know more about Kenya's family. Like, I enjoyed hearing about that. And that's my takeaway. In addition to further reiterate that she is very misunderstood, which I already knew that, but hopefully, the viewers get a chance to see that as well. So thank you guys for listening to my commentary. He's doing the part 2 to this interview on August 22nd, which is my birthday, y'all. So yeah, he's doing the part 2 to this interview. So, it'll be nice to see, the conclusion to this, and for her to get more in depth on the goings ons and the behind the scenes of what happened on some of the previous seasons. All right. So you guys, please, again, like, subscribe, share. Thank you for supporting your girl. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday.